And now, the general weather around Alaska.
First up here, hazardous weather graphic. A blizzard warning continues here along the Arctic coast tonight and a portion of the North Slope here through tonight. And as winds continue to blow anywhere from 40 to 55 miles an hour to the east-northeast, they're creating blizzard conditions. That is, visibility's less than a quarter mile, and in some cases whiteout conditions there, and that'll continue through tonight. And winter storm warning out for the central interior, mostly due to strong winds there, gusting over 60 miles an hour, and also a high wind warning out for eastern Norton Sound for strong winds continuing there. And winter weather advisories here and wind advisories for the Galena area on down to the south, as well as the Bering Strait coast and St. Lawrence Island. And wind advisories here for the mountains north of Fairbanks and also for Delta Junction for winds that continue to gust upwards of 50 to 55 miles an hour. And off to the southwest here, also a winter weather advisory out for the Yukon Delta area. And from there, looking at satellite imagery, you can see this front beginning to push some moisture into the panhandle today. Not anything particularly heavy, pretty light amounts during the day today over most areas. Juneau on up to Haines had a couple inches of snow in the colder temperatures up that way. And a little bit heavier amounts here along portions of the North Gulf Coast at Cordova on into western Prince William Sound. Portage Glacier picked up just a shade over an inch of rain with gusty east winds there. And here's the low center out over the southeastern Bering Sea. Slowly moving, slowly weakening, slowly lifting northward this afternoon. The front really washing out as it across interior Alaska here. And colder temperatures back up to the northeast here, associated with a big Arctic high that's pushed down over the Northwest Territories of Canada. And that high and this low, a lot of lines across interior Alaska today, a lot of gusty strong winds in areas, 55 mile an hour wind gusts in Delta Junction. And again, anywhere from 60 to 65 miles an hour over eastern Norton Sound with Unalakleet and Cape Ramon's off in the Yukon Delta coast, seeing a peak gust of about 65 miles an hour. And windy conditions continue. Excuse me. Here for the Alaska Peninsula and the western Aleutians, but not as windy as what they saw yesterday, but still winds gusting anywhere from 40 to 55 miles an hour. So a lot of gale warnings out across much of the marine areas there. Front weakening as it pushes up into the northern Bering Sea. There was some snow, blowing snow around St. Lawrence Island back up toward the Bering Strait. And for tonight, this front kind of elongates out along the North Gulf coast and across the Panhandle. Periods of rain or rain and snow over the southern areas. Periods of snow to the north. Snow advisory out for the Haines area, for Hainesboro for several more inches of snowfall. And look for rain and snow along the North Gulf Coast. Stays very windy here over the eastern Alaska Range all the way up to the eastern Arctic coast. Again, with a blizzard warning continuing through tonight. Gusty winds also here over much of the interior, especially out to the west there. Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, southward into the Yukon Valley, becoming lighter wind conditions here over Bristol Bay. Low center slowly weakening and slowly moving. Will keep a lot of rain and snow out over the Aleutians and southern Bering Sea into mainly the southern side of the Alaska Peninsula here, and even less of that into Kodiak Island. And chance of snow still exists for for all of south central Alaska tomorrow, but nothing too terribly heavy, and nothing heavy at all. Just light amounts in the areas. Heaviest amounts will be in the upslope areas of mountainous terrain, like possibly the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range, western Prince William Sound, again, southern Kenai Peninsula, but chance of some slight snow all the way up toward the Yukon River there, Fort Yukon, Beaver, and those areas. Low pressure slowly weakening and slowly drifting northeastward now in toward western Bristol Bay. Stays breezy, but the winds continue to slowly subside over the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and still a windy day tomorrow over much of interior Alaska, but also looking for the winds to slowly subside throughout the day. Stays wet and unsettled over the Panhandle there. This next system is going to take off mostly to the northeast toward the Queen Charlotte Islands on Friday. So that'll bring more rain into the southern Panhandle. Dries out in the north up there. And dry in the interior, a lot lighter winds now over the central and eastern part of the state. Even the Arctic coast seeing a dramatic drop in the winds there. And pretty light winds here over the Bering Sea, at least comparatively, from the Bering Strait down along the southwest coast. Weak trough keeps snow showers going from the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, in toward Bristol Bay, and still rain or snow, periods of light rain or snow for the North Gulf Coast, continued weak east-southeasterly flow there, and some scattered shower conditions for the Alaska Peninsula. Next storm bringing gale force winds into the central Aleutians with increasing rain during the afternoon hours. And the lows tonight dropping into the mid-minus 20s there around Eagle. Actually, they're already sitting at minus 26, so they may fall closer to minus 30 tonight. And then below zero conditions rise towards zero as you get out toward the Bering Strait or the Seward Peninsula there. Right around 7 for Savunga and Gamble, upper 20s for the Pribilof Islands, lower 30s for the Aleutians, and in the 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, into Bristol Bay, in the 30s for the southeast coast. And for highs tomorrow, mid to upper 30s, northern Panhandle, lower 40s to the south, and 5 below to 5 above, Copper River Basin, 20s to mid 30s, south central Alaska, and anywhere from 0 to 10 below for the eastern part of the state to the eastern Arctic coast. Above zero, anywhere from 5 to 15 out toward the Bering Strait. Lower 30s for the Pribilofs, in the 30s for the Aleutians, 35 to 40 for the Alaska Peninsula. Upper 30s Kodiak Island, and well into the 30s here again for Bristol Bay. Highs 25 to 35 for south central Alaska into Prince William Sound. And then the lows on Friday morning, 10 to 25 below central eastern interior areas, as well as the north slope to the Arctic coast, and either side of zero for the Seward Peninsula, falling down towards zero for St. Lawrence Island, upper 20s for the Pribilofs, upper 20s, lower 30s for the central western Aleutians, mid 30s on Alaska Island and Nikolsky, and in the upper 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, with lows falling back into the teens for the Susitna Valley, with the Kenai Peninsula staying in the lower 20s. And 0 to 10 below in the Copper River Basin, with upper 20s northern Panhandle to mid 30s south, translating into afternoon highs mid to upper 30s. Most of the southeast coast near 40 for the Sitka area down to Craig and Klawock. North of the Alaska Range, 0 to 10 below for the highs, all the way up to the Arctic coast. South of the mountains, back down into the mid to upper 20s for much of south central Alaska. Still in the upper 30s or mid 30s for the Bristol Bay area. And out west, lows ranging from the lower teens, St. Lawrence Island, to near freezing for the Pribilofs, and in the 30s to near 40 for the eastern Aleutians.